I know how to read pain. That's not me bragging. That's literally my job. I'm a physical therapist at a sports rehab facility, and I've spent 12 years watching people try to hide how much something hurts. Athletes are the worst for it. They'll walk in compensating for a torn ligament and tell me they're fine. I can see the hitch in someone's gait from across a parking lot. I know when a person says they're at a 3 and they're actually at a 7. I am good at reading people. So you'd think I would have noticed sooner. You'd think. My name's Becca Harlow, and for 11 months I was in a relationship with a man named Graham Torrence. Except his name wasn't Graham. And it wasn't really a relationship. Let me tell you what it was. My mom had MS. I'm not saying that for sympathy. I'm saying it because it explains everything that came after. From the time I was 23 until she passed at 61, I was the person who noticed things, who called ahead, who remembered her medication schedule without writing it down, who sat with her during the bad weeks and acted like everything was manageable, because acting like it was manageable was the only thing that actually helped her. I'm not complaining about any of that. She was my mom, and I loved her, and I'd do it again. But what it meant was that I got to 38 without ever really knowing what it felt like to be the one who was noticed. I want you to sit with that for a second. Not the loneliness part, the not being seen part. I went on dates after she passed. Normal guys, nice enough. And every single time I'd find myself doing the same thing I'd done my whole life, managing the situation so the other person felt comfortable. Asking the follow-up questions, smoothing things over when there was nothing to smooth. And they'd let me. That's the thing I keep coming back to. They'd just let me. Graham didn't. I met him on a hiking app. He messaged me about a trail I'd tagged near my town. Not "Hey, gorgeous." A specific question about whether the path was manageable with a bad knee because his sister had just had surgery. I remember thinking, who asks that? A month in, he told me he was starting to have feelings for me. By then we'd spoken many times, but never on video. He'd suggested it twice. His camera was broken, he said, waiting on a replacement. I let it go because everything else about him felt so present. He was a structural engineer, traveled for work constantly. I'd asked to meet in person twice already. He said soon, and I believed him because of the way he said everything else. Here's what I need you to understand about Graham. He remembered things. Not in a generic way. Specifically, I'd mentioned once in passing that I'd been struggling to sleep since my mom passed, that I'd read somewhere grief disrupts your circadian rhythm, and I was trying to figure out if that was real or just something people say. 6 weeks later, out of nowhere, he sent me an article about it. Not a text that said thinking of you. An actual article. With the note. I looked into it. It's real. You're not imagining it. I didn't know what to do with that. I wasn't used to someone doing that. And that right there is what I wish I could go back and see clearly. He wasn't attentive because he was kind. He was attentive because he was learning what I needed so he could hand it back to me. I just didn't know that yet. It was a Wednesday evening in February. He called a little after 8, which was normal, but the tone was different from the first sentence. He said he needed to tell me something that had been weighing on him. His mother had been sick, pancreatic cancer, diagnosed 14 months ago, before we'd even started talking. He hadn't said anything because he didn't want to lead with something heavy. He'd personally guaranteed payment for her treatment at a private facility because the waiting lists elsewhere were too long and he couldn't watch her wait. She had passed 6 weeks ago. I want you to understand what that conversation felt like. I knew exactly what it cost to watch a parent get sick and choose to do whatever it took. I knew what it meant to carry that alone. I felt that story in a place that had nothing to do with logic. He said the facility had sent a final balance to collections. His company did periodic financial reviews of senior staff. A collections mark during one of those reviews could raise questions he didn't want to answer. He'd pay me back within 2 months. He had the invoice. He hated to ask. And here is the thing. I was ready to say yes. I was sitting on my couch and I was ready. Then something made me slow down. I said, wait. Before we figure out the money part, have you called the facility directly? Medical debt is often negotiable, especially after a patient passes. He said he'd tried. What about a medical debt advocate? I said. There are nonprofits that handle exactly this situation for free. A pause. He just needed to clear it quickly. I said, I hear you, but if the debt is negotiable, you might not need to pay the full amount. Have you asked whether the collections agency bought it at a discount? He just needed it handled. I offered him 2 more paths out. He let both of them sink, and that is when something shifted. Not the amount, the fact that he had no interest in any solution except the one specific thing he'd asked for. A man genuinely drowning in a problem grabs every lifeline you throw him. This man kept letting them go. I said I'd call him tomorrow and hung up. I sat there on my couch thinking about the athletes I see every week, the ones who walk in favoring one side, compensating, hoping I won't notice where the real problem is. I always notice. I called Destiny. Destiny works mornings at the facility doing intake assessments. She is 28 years old and has been catfished once, which in her mind qualifies her as a regional authority on the subject. This is annoying. It is also, unfortunately, accurate. She picked up on the second ring and I told her everything without stopping. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Send me his profile, right now. I sent it. 40 seconds passed. Beck, I need you to not panic. I told her that is never a useful thing to say to anyone. His name is Andrei Volkov. He is a stock model. You can license that photo for $80. I said, what? 4 different websites, right now, available for commercial use. I sat down. I don't remember deciding to sit down. I was just suddenly sitting. She said she was coming over. I said she didn't have to. She had already hung up. She showed up 20 minutes later with 2 coffees. She handed me mine and I took a sip before I realized she'd gotten me regular. Not oat milk. I looked at her. She didn't flinch. You need the real stuff tonight. I'm not sorry. She pulled her laptop out before she'd even sat down. She said, okay. We know the photo is fake. She set it on the counter between us. So who is this person actually? That became the question. Not is he lying? We knew he was lying. Who is he? We went through 11 months of messages looking for anything real. Anything that pointed toward an actual person underneath Graham. Destiny read while I scrolled. She found the hometown inconsistencies first. Cleveland in August, Columbus further back, near Columbus further back still. She looked up at me over the laptop screen. He can't even keep his fake city straight. I pulled up the engineering firm he'd named and called the main line, asked for Graham Torrence. The receptionist put me on hold for 2 minutes. She came back and said there was no one by that name in the system. I asked about structural project managers specifically. She gave me 2 names, neither was Graham. I thanked her and set the phone down. Destiny was watching me from across the counter. She said, what do you need? I said I need to find out who else he's done this to. She posted his photo in 2 Facebook groups for people who'd been through this kind of situation. She did it while I stood at my kitchen window looking at nothing in particular. By 10 o'clock we had 2 responses. The first was sympathy from someone who recognized the pattern. The second was from a woman named Patricia, Akron. Patricia had been talking to Graham for 7 months. Patricia had sent him money. A lot of it. She thought they were planning to meet in the spring. Reading her message felt like reading something I could have written from inside a version of my life I'd barely missed. I wrote back immediately and told her everything. She responded within minutes. She'd had a bad feeling for weeks, she said. She'd saved an early voicemail from him. From the first month, before he'd started calling from blocked numbers, she'd already run it through a reverse lookup service. The name that came back was Gary Torrence, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I looked at Destiny. She had the laptop open before I said anything. Gary Torrence. Tulsa. 3rd result on Facebook. A regular-looking man in his late 40s, standing in front of a house with a woman and 2 teenage kids. Profile mostly public. Structural engineer listed as his job. Married 21 years. We both looked at the screen without saying anything for a moment. Destiny closed the laptop part way. She said, there he is. I said, yeah. She said, are you going to call him? I said, yeah. When? Tomorrow. She nodded once. I'll come with you. Not a question. We did it from the back office at the facility, after the last appointment of the day, 5:15 on a Thursday. The room has a whiteboard with the weekly schedule on it, and a mini fridge that hums too loud and a window that looks out onto an empty parking lot. I remember all of it very clearly. The way you remember the specific details of a moment you knew mattered while it was happening. Destiny sat across the desk from me. She had brought snacks. I looked at the granola bars on the desk between us. She said, I didn't know how long this would take. She held one out. I shook my head. She said it in front of me anyway. I called him. Second ring. Hey you. Like nothing in the world was wrong. He asked how my day was and I told him. He asked about the knee patient I'd mentioned on Monday, whether she'd shown any improvement. He remembered. He always remembered. I let him go for a few minutes, let him be Graham one more time. Then I said, hey, can I ask you something? Of course. Can you spell your last name for me? A pause. Small but there. Why? I said I wanted to double-check something. He spelled it. Torrence. I said Graham Torrence or Gary Torrence. Silence. Not a connection issue. Silence. Hi, Gary. 4 seconds passed. Then he said my name. And it wasn't Graham's voice anymore. It was something underneath that. Quieter, heavier. I said I know about Patricia nothing. I said I know you're in Tulsa. I know you're married. I know that photo is a stock image of a man named Andrei Volkov, and I know how to reach your wife. Destiny had both hands flat on the desk. Very still. Gary said, I didn't take your money. You didn't get the chance. A long pause. Then something shifted in his voice. It got softer, more careful. He said, can I tell you something? Something true. And I want you to notice that I noticed that. The way he asked permission before offering honesty. The way he chose the word true specifically. He said he'd been laid off 8 months ago. He said Deanna didn't know. He said he still left the house every morning because he didn't know how to tell her. He said Graham wasn't about the money, not at first. He said he just needed somewhere to exist where he wasn't failing at everything. His voice cracked a little on that last part. And here's what I want you to understand. Everything he said was probably true. The job, the hiding, the hollow mornings. All of it. I believe he actually lost his job. I believe his marriage is exactly what he described. But I also know what he was doing with that information. Because I'd felt him do it before. The circadian rhythm article. The way he'd asked how I was sleeping, specifically, on the hard weeks. He was very good at finding the version of himself that made you want to protect him. And here he was doing it again, handing me something real, hoping I'd hold it instead of the phone. I let him finish. Then I said, I hear you, Gary. I said, here's what happens now. Patricia and I are both filing reports with the FBI's Internet Crime Division today. I'm reporting your profile to the app. And I'm going to give Deanna the choice of knowing. His voice changed. He said, please. He said she doesn't need to go through that. He said if she finds out about the job like this, everything falls apart. I said, Gary, you did this, not me. He went quiet. After a moment he said, I'm sorry about your mother. And I almost felt it. I almost let that land the way he meant it to. But I'd seen the move now. I knew what it looked like when someone handed you something true in order to get something back. I said, don't contact me or Patricia again. I hung up. Destiny looked up from the desk. She didn't ask if I was okay. She picked up a granola bar and held it out across the desk. I took it this time. We sat there for a minute without saying anything. The mini fridge hummed. The parking lot outside was empty and orange under the lot lights. Then she said, very quietly, that last part. When he said sorry about your mother. I know, I said. She shook her head slowly. He was good. I said, yeah, he was. We filed the IC3 report that night. Patricia filed one the following morning. I reported the profile to the app. I sent Deanna a message. Factual, no anger. Just the screenshots and a note that said she deserved to make her own decisions with the full picture. She read it. She didn't write back. I hadn't expected her to. I think about the grief article sometimes. The one about circadian rhythm and loss. I went back and read it after everything. It was real, good source, accurate information. He hadn't made that part up. He'd found something true and useful and sent it to me at exactly the right moment. And that's the thing about Gary that I've had to sit with. The attentiveness was real. The skill was real. He genuinely knew how to see people. He just used it the way some people use everything, to get what he needed. Last week a new patient came in, college soccer player, walked in telling me his hip was fine and the team doctor was overreacting. I watched him favor his left side the whole way across the room. I said, walk back to the door for me. He did. I said, how long has the right side been covering for the left? He stopped. He said, how did you know that? I said, it's what I do. I know what it looks like when someone's hiding where the real problem is. I've always known. I just had to learn to apply it in every direction. Including when someone shows you something real specifically because they want you looking at that instead of everything else. If you want to hear more stories like this, please like and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me.